Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Bhagavad Gita as it is, chapter 11, text 37. Kasmachatena nameran mahatman gariyase brahmanopiadikartre ananta devesha jagannivasa tvamaksharam sad asat tatparam yat. So now Arjuna, in the previous verse, he said, Sarve namaskyanti cha siddha sanghaha. All these great personalities around the universe, the perfected beings, they are all offering respects unto you. And now he says, why not? Kasmat chatena nameran mahatman. Why should they not offer their homage unto you? Because you are gariyase brahmanoha api. Brahmanaha api means even greater than Brahma gariyase. You are greater than even Lord Brahma. You are the original master, Adikartre. You are the creator of him even. You are Ananta. You are unlimited. Devesha. You are Devas Isha. You are the controller or the god of gods. Jagat Nivasa. You are the refuge of the universe. Tvam Aksharam. You are imperishable. And you are cause and effect. Sat Asat. Tat Param. You are the cause of all causes. That cause which is transcendental to this material manifestation. So, Krishna is Devesha. He is worshipable by all. He is worshipable by even Brahma, the original creator of this universe, who is created by Lord Krishna. So, all these glorifications are being done. There was one conversation I wanted to point out between one guest and Srila Prabhupada. The guest is asking, Swamiji, would you say that the modern science is only materialism? And Prabhupada says, yes, the scientists are dealing only with earth, water, fire, air, and ether. This Panchamahabhuta that is visible in front of us. Bhumirapo, Analo, Vayu, Kham. That's all. It's all materialism. They do not know what is spiritualism. And the guest is asking, what makes them or the scientists do their work, or what motivates them? And Srila Prabhupada is saying, it is the soul. The soul is a living being with minute independence. He desires to work in a certain way, and nature supplies him with the facility. See? He desires to work in a certain way, and nature supplies him that facility to work in that way. For example, earth is not man's creation. Earth is God's creation, a product of God's energy. But we use the earth and mold it into various forms, isn't it? We make like pots, dolls, books, machines. They're all made of bhumi. They're all coming from the earth. The ingredients are supplied by God or by nature, which is God's energy, and we simply transform them. We cannot actually produce anything. But like God, we have creative energy, although in very minute quantity. Just as God creates the whole universe by his intelligence, and we use our intelligence to create a small table or even up to a aeroplane, but our intelligence is not as comparable as the Lord, because the Lord can manufacture a tiny fly which can fly like a helicopter. But we cannot manufacture that. In order to manufacture, we need a gross matter. And that also is prone to so many defects. So Krishna explains all of these things in Bhagavad Gita. It contains perfect information of everything. Krishna says the material elements are my energy. Now consider the Atlantic Ocean, a vast body of water. It is created by God's energy. Do you accept that? If you hesitate, what is your reason? So these oceans, this earth, this huge planets, this rain, the clouds, man has not manufactured, isn't it? We are just using them. Then who manufactured? And then this guest says, oh, different people says different things. They say it's not necessary creation of God. Prabhupada says, no, it is a question of logic. And he gives a beautiful logic. And he says, say, for example, from your body, you get perspiration. That means you are able to produce water, isn't it? The guest said yes. And you are able to get urine and so many things. These waters are produced by the energy within your body. So why can't this huge waters of an ocean not be produced from God's energy? You are limited, so you are able to only produce limited ounces of water. But because God is unlimited, He has unlimited energy. I may produce 1 ounce, but God can produce unlimited quantity of water. So, like that, Krishna created this universe. Krishna created these material elements. One may ask the question, who created this matter? Because matter cannot create matter, because then you have to explain how that original matter got created. There has to be a cause beyond it, isn't it? Because if you say earth created earth, then who created earth? So there has to be a cause beyond it, and that is Krishna. Even the material scientists, they can only go up to the Big Bang. It was a point where all these material elements formed. And before that, it was a tiny, infinitesimal, immeasurable point. It is nothing. They say it is quote unquote nothing because they cannot define it. Because the moment they define it, it is made of matter. So just see how inconclusive and illogical their theory is. That means they must accept that what produced matter is not made of same matter that it produced. So it must be something else, and that we call spiritual. It is not material. And Brahma Samhita gives the answer. यह कारणार्णव जले भजति स्म योग निद्राम अनंत जगदंड सरोमकूपः आधार शक्तिमवलंब्य पराम स्वमूर्तिम गोविंदमादि पुरुषम तमहम भजामि. So the Karanodakashayi Vishnu is breathing out, and through his bodily pores, innumerable universes are coming. So this is the cause of all causes. And he is the Devesha. Deva Isha means the master of all devas. Krishna is also called Shiva Virinchinutam Charanyam. He is the master of all devatas, including Lord Shiva and Lord Brahma. There was one great poet, Chandidas, a great Vaishnava. He was born in Bengal, born in a Brahmana family, and he and another great poet, Vidyapati, they were great friends, and they composed wonderful compositions of glorification of Krishna, Radha Krishna, and Chaitanya Mahaprabhu used to relish all these wonderful compositions. So this Chandidas, in his earlier life, he was worshipping Chandi. That is why he was called Chandidas. Chandi is one ferocious form of Kali. But his brother was a Vaishnava. So this Chandidas was rich because typically when one worships Durga, naturally one gets so much money. So he had a big garden, big palace. But these Vaishnavas generally are poor because Krishna does not, either they don't want the riches or Krishna does not want to bother them with so many deviations. It's not that they're always poor, but Krishna gives everyone sufficiently. But Krishna completely controls and removes anything which does not help them. So this Vaishnava brother of Chandidas, he had a shalagram, but he had no flower to offer. So he would look in his brother's garden and he would think, oh, so many flowers are there, and my shaligram gets no flower. And one day he was looking at the garden. He mentally offered a flower from that garden to his shaligram. Shaligram is a Shila of Lord Vishnu. Lord Vishnu himself comes as Shaligram, small stone. And somehow or other, Chandidas picked the same flower the next day that his brother mentally took. So the Chandidas, he offered it to Chandi. And immediately she appeared. I am pleased with you, Chandidas. What benediction do you want? And Chandidas said, wait, every day I am worshipping you. Why today you have appeared suddenly? And she said, because you have offered me the flower which has been offered to Shaligram, Lord Vishnu. And that is prasadam. And by seeing that prasadam flower, I became very pleased. So I appeared before you. And then Chandidas said, wait a minute. If Shaligram is superior to you, then why did you not tell me? And then Chandi said, oh, oh stupid Chandidas, why are you worshipping me? You should worship Shaligram. You never asked me who was supreme. Did you ever ask me? Krishna is the supreme personality of Godhead. But because you were at least worshipping me, so I thought I would train you in worship. And then when you find out who is to be worshipped, then you will actually worship properly. And then Chandidas realized, oh, I have so far wasted my life. And then he started to worship Shaligram. And then he said, is that all right? And then Chandi said, no, 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 I'm very happy. Go worship Shaligram. And then Chandidas became a great devotee and composed so many wonderful prayers and songs. So, even in scriptures, sometimes it is said why Vyasadeva gave so many worships, methods of worship. If Krishna is the only object of worship, as Krishna confirms here, he is the Devesha. Why Vyasadeva has given so many scriptures? See, what we need to understand is the scriptures, for example, the Puranas, they are of three categories. Puranas in Sattva-guna, for those in Rajoguna, and for those in Tamoguna. So, because there are different mentality of people, different categories of people. Like some people, they only go to a very expensive store and buy very expensive things, quality products. But some people can, or they want to go only to like a dollar store, or they want to get cheap products. Either they cannot afford or they don't like for whatever reason. Different people are of different mentalities. But if you afford a good product, it will last long, it will look good, and it has so many advantages. But you need to be able to afford it. So this is called sattva guna. Unless you get sattva guna, you won't be able to afford a higher product. So there are different people of different natures. If they were not provided these options, if the Vedas did not give them option, they would become like sense gratifiers, just like animals, without any regulation. At least because of Vedic regulation, they are bound to worship somebody. At least that, as Chandidas said, his mother Chandi said, I was training you so that when you find the right person to worship, you can engage similarly. So the Vedas are meant for training us to become obedient to Vedas, to be regulated in life, whoever you're worshipping. But once you come to gradually the higher modes by that regulative process of worship, your heart is slowly getting cleansed. You're doing some pious activities, yagna dana tapa, and slowly, by the mercy, if you get in touch with a pure devotee, and then your heart changes and realize Krishna is the Supreme Personality of Godhead, and then you can use the same method of worship to worship Krishna. So that is why Vyasadeva has given all these varieties. That is why they say, oh, why in Hinduism there are so many different gods? In other religions, oh, there is only one god, bas ho gaya. No, actually, even in other religions, there are different sects, different groups. There are differences. There are different modes of worship. There are hardcore differences in those groups. So every religion has different flavors. But particularly our Sanatana Dharma, why it is given is because of this. To make you regulated by Vedic literature and make you trained in worship and gradually make you come to the higher modes. That's the idea. And now it is said here, Sat Asat, you are the cause and effect, or you are the cause of all causes. Now, this is very important because you see everything that is happening in this world. You know why? So, for example, somebody gets hit in an accident. Oh, why he got hit? And the person behind was not careful. He was watching his mobile phone. Why he was watching his mobile phone? Some message came from somebody. That is the cause. Some urgent message from his boss. And why that came? Oh, because some customer is facing some problem. And why that became? Because of a bug written. Because, so, you can trace back the cause and cause and cause and cause. And ultimately, it is all contained within this material creation. Ultimately, the absolute truth, the conception of absolute truth is that from which everything has been caused. Because we had a particular kind of desire, Krishna provides the opportunity. Now you have the opportunity, you satisfy the desire. That is the cause. Ultimately, it rests with Krishna. Janmadi asya yataha. So, Prabhupada, he gives two criteria to examine whether a certain truth is an absolute truth or a relative truth. The two criteria are, one is, if it is dependent on another truth, then it is relative truth. Like, for example, light is coming from a bulb. The light is dependent on electricity, isn't it? So the electricity is dependent on the powerhouse, which in turn is connected to something and dependent on water flow, whatever. And there has to be rain for the water flow. and it has to go from higher level to lower level. And the rain is dependent on the sun evaporating the water and condensing it and returning it. And again, the sun itself has to come from something else. So everything in this sequence is a dependent truth. It's not absolute truth. Its existence depends on something else. Without that, it cannot exist. That is one criteria. So if we find a truth which is not dependent on any other truth, that is absolute truth. So Brahma says, Lord Brahma in his Brahma Samhita, Ishvaraha Paramaha Krishna Satchidananda Vigraha Anadiradir Govinda Sarvakarana Karanam. So there are many controllers, Ishvaras, but Parameshwara, the supreme controller with whom ultimate control rests, is Krishna. Paramaha Ishvaraha. Satchidananda Vigraha. He possesses the body made of Satchit Ananda. And he is Anadihi. He does not have any other origin. And Adi, he is the origin of everything. And Sarva Karana Karanam. He is the cause of all causes. Absolute truth. No dependence, no relativity. And the other criteria Prabhupada gives to find what is absolute truth is if it is true in all phases of time, past, present, and future, then it is absolute truth. For example, my body. This present body, 10 years ago, it was not there. After 10 years, it won't be there, meaning I look like somebody else. The baby's body I had, I don't look like the baby anymore. Where is that body gone? In our previous lives, we had a different body. Where is that body? So, this body is not absolute truth because absolute truth must be constant at all times, must be true for all the times. Na sate vidyate bhavo, na bhavo vidyate satah, ubhayorapi drustontas tvanayos tattvadarshibhi. Krishna says in Bhagavad Gita, he defines what is truth and what is appearing like truth or illusion. For na asate vidyate bhavaha, na bhavo vidyate sataha. For asat, that which is illusion, there is no endurance. It is always changing. Whereas for sat, which is truth, it is always enduring. There is no change. So, a spiritualist seeks for the absolute truth, that which is true for all times. Satyam Param, the ultimate truth. But in this material world, we are happy only seeking relative truths. Like, for example, Newton. He was sitting under the apple tree, isn't it? The apple fell down, and we know how he started to think. What is the cause of this apple falling down? And then eventually he found out it is because of gravity. So he asked the question, why apple fell down? And he went back and he found it is because of law of gravity. But he did not ask what caused this gravity. Why does gravity exist? Who put that? Even if you say, oh, it is because of some centrifugal force or whatever, the planets are rotating in a particular way, but who put that in motion? Why is it rotating in that particular way? So when scientists find out what is the cause of that law or force, how the force works, and then immediately they develop these algorithms, these theories, these technology which is based around that law, which uses that cause and effect relationship, and they invent things by which life improves. So the modern exploration of truth is only up to the point where it helps us in our sense gratification. But spiritualist goes beyond that, because we are not looking only for sense gratification, because it has a beginning and it has an end. It is not the ultimate purpose of life. Anybody who is intelligent can understand sense gratification is temporary and not the ultimate purpose of one's life, because it is available in all the bodies, even in the hog body, dog body, cat's body. The same eating, sleeping, mating, defending. It's there. But only a human being can go beyond. Athato Brahma Jignasa. What is ultimate cause? Why all this exists? Why am I forced to work in a particular way, to suffer in a particular way? What is the purpose of my life? All of this can be examined, can be inquired only by a human. Or only when you do that, you're considered to be a human being. And that is what Arjuna is saying. O Devesha, Sat Asat Tat Param, you are transcendental. Transcendental means even though Krishna comes to this material world, he's not of this world. We are of this world. Our body is made of matter. Krishna's body is not made of matter. Even though he may appear to be made of matter. Even it is said in Brahma Mahabharata, he was fighting. Krishna was the chariot driver. And Bhishma was releasing the arrows and he was trying to kill Arjuna. And some arrows, they hit the chariot drivers. And Krishna was bleeding. And it is said in Bhagavatam that that was a service of Bhishma. Bhishma was giving service to Krishna as a fighter, because the relation Bhishma had was in chivalry, to give pleasure to Krishna in fighting. So Krishna felt like these are like the garlands offered to him by a devotee. See, the blood is oozing. Normally we are suffering, isn't it, in that situation? But Krishna is taking pleasure from the devotee. So that is why he is transcendental. The so called happiness, distress, the fame, infamy, birth and death, all these things do not apply to Krishna. I'll stop here. Anyone has any questions or comments? Bhagavad Gita as it is, ki jai, Srila Prabhupada